MLS is just starting. Wow! Oh, and a game called football is also right around the corner. And look at the all-star team we put together today. The Dans over here. Wow. The LSU Heroes over here. And we had Monday Night Football last night. And speaking of LSU legends, wow. We had a few of them playing quarterback last night as well. We got Joe Burrow. We got Jaden Daniels. And for Washington, we've got the new addition.
Ultimately, let's not gallop until the real game starts, Jaden. Sees a window, uses that great athleticism, and should slide instead of getting it.
27 did him a favor there.
Yeah, that would be his night, by the way. He wouldn't throw a pass last night.
Well.
Just brutal.
That's horrible.
Commanders a 14-7 lead, and then we got Burrow getting chased around on the other side again.
Senseless.
Now, he's actually doing things he doesn't do in real games. I think Joe Burrow is trying to get some reps. He's trying to make sure we can try to get first downs and have extra opportunities to throw the football, but you can't take that.
The guy in his progression, Joe sets his feet, peeks right, goes 1-2, and then that replace the timing, the ball placement, the accuracy, the pace, it's just perfect.
So at what point do he not play?
And they would win at 31-17.
Yeah.
But gentlemen, the story is this. I mean, Cincinnati's defense was 25th in the league last year, and they're picking up right where they left off. In the first quarter yesterday, 9 of their 11 defensive starters were playing. They allowed 14 points on 7 plays. They allowed 17 yards per carry through the running game. That's not good. After the game, our Troy Aikman, who was there calling it, had a lot of concern.
I just don't know how this team can be good enough defensively. We saw what happened last year, that they can accomplish what they want to. And as we talked about, they've wasted some good years with Joe Burrow, especially last year when he played in an MVP-type season.
That's not hyperbole. Joe Burrow absolutely could have been the MVP of the league last year based on how bad his defense was and the fact that he still had them alive for playoff contention on the final Sunday of the season. Of course, they would not wind up making it. You put together a tape on just what we're seeing from this defense.
Bad angles, bad gap integrity, slow on defense. This is the defense last year just could not find a way to fundamentally be sound. Fired defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Al Golden comes in, who's an incredibly well-respected defensive mind. And the concern is it looks worse. I mean, this is a jet sweep. I'm not saying this is an easy play to stop, but guys are taking bad angles. They're going underneath blocks. They're not squeezing when it comes to us as offensive guys trying to block them inside out. And Deebo Samuel, who you would imagine everybody's antennas would be up on when he's on the field, goes for 20. And then Jaden Daniels' run that he scores on, the thing that I see is like, oh my gosh, he looks so much faster than everybody on the defense. There's 4, 5, 6 guys on Cincinnati's defense that really have some form of vision on them, and they're not even close to touching him until he kind of runs to them 2 or 3 yards from the end zone. So, man, I know Jaden and Joe. I was just watching that game going, oh my, I sent notes to capital letters. This defense is terrible right now.
And it's playing without Trey Hendrickson, which is its best player by far, and may have to continue doing that. Is there any update on his contractual situation?
No movement on that. Well, I think as we get closer to the start of the season, you'll probably see some rekindling of talks. And I think, both sides want this to end a certain way, which is with him on the team. So it's just a matter of finding that resolution. I don't believe that they're really going to trade him. I think it's a matter of when can they get this done and when can they get him on the field.
Yeah, I think, though, when you look at this defense, as good as Trey Hendrickson was last year, they stunk. And now you look at last night's game, and it's like porta potty at the end of a Mardi Gras Day parade on Bourbon Street, kind of funky, right? And so when you think about Al Golden coming over, Al Golden coming over from Notre Dame Fighting Irish, he was a part of this defensive staff when they went to the Super Bowl. So they're trying to rekindle some of that. But what they missed, and Marcus talked about this a little bit earlier, is some of the players they had on that team. Dan mentioned not having speed to the football. Well, you have to have players who not only are fast, but players who want to get to the football, players who show that level of effort. And all of that was blamed on Lou Anarumo last year. Maybe they just don't have the guys, but this is what I know. When you're a defensive player and you look at Joe Burrow, you look at Jamal, if I get a turnover, if we get an extra possession, we're probably going to win a ton of football games. And so somebody has to step up in this defensive room. I don't know if it's Logan Wilson. I don't know if it could be Trey Hendrickson. I don't know if it could be John Battle and say, hey, look, We need to be better, and if we're better, we have an opportunity to not only be a playoff contender, but a Super Bowl contender.
I went back and found the number. We were talking about it last year. Last season, teams that, when their team scored 33 or more points, teams in the NFL were 79-7.
Yes.
Last year, if you scored 33 points, you went 79-7.
The Bengals?
The Bengals in games in which they scored 33 points were 3-4.
Hey.
That's almost impossible to do. They were under 500 when they scored 33 or more points. And if anything, their defense looks worse. So the question becomes, are they wasting what might be as good a quarterback as we have in the NFL?
100% they're wasting it. And look, this is I was thinking about this because Graz talked about it with Cincy and their contract. This is a new era for them. This is the first time, like, they've had good quarterbacks, but they have a potentially Hall of Fame quarterback, a generational guy.
Sure.
So this is a new standard of operation. And what they didn't realize is what Kansas City realized. Nothing go towards the unit that actually cost you games last year.
But the difference with Kansas City, right? They replaced the guys that aged out or got paid elsewhere on defense with draft picks that had impact right away. Right? So 2 years ago, they were in the Super Bowl, and guys, McDuffie, guys like that. The Bengals' defensive draft picks haven't hit on that level. So they're still hoping to develop some of those and counting on some rookies this year.
No quarterback deals with a worse dealt hand than Joe Burrow. Think about the comparison we're talking about with the greats in our league. Lamar, Josh, Patrick, Jalen Hurts, Stafford. Those guys all have like very high-level complementary units. Joe's dragging and working at a deficiency, and I'm thinking, when was the last time in the league a great quarterback had a situation like this? A great quarterback had the opposite unit that was just so historically bad.
Well, the other piece of it is this, though, and this is not something we've talked about because we've sort of applauded the Cincinnati Bengals for signing both of Joe's wide receivers when he asked. Maybe they shouldn't have signed T. Higgins. Joe Burrow is good enough, in my opinion, that now that you see a Mitchell Tinsley, you think of Yoshi Vosh, you think of having Gesicki at the tight end position, Jamar Chase either number 1 or number 2 in the overall league. If T. Higgins isn't signed, can you take that money and bring in mid-level veterans that not only bolster this team from a talent standpoint, but from an experience standpoint, from a physicality standpoint? Like, you made a decision based on your emotional attachment to one of the best players your organization has ever had.
And to your point, RC, let's just look at the team in Colorado. It took Bo Nix 7 months to convince them that we got to go out on the other side of the football, who we were already good. They signed Ufunga. They signed Dre Greenlaw. You already have a Hall of Fame cornerback on that side of the field.
Signed Zach Allen.
Yeah, they weren't. And got Cortland Sutton signed, obviously, but who was not in the same class as Jamar. But T, to be determined if he plays well. But ultimately, they watched the same damn thing we watched last year. And there should have been an onus put on how do we immediately get this defense better.
Right.
And this has before anybody misconstrue, it has no indictment on how good T. Higgins is.
No doubt.
He would have got paid anyway. The problem is you still are probably going to get a high-level, top 5 level of production without T. Higgins on your offense.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's where the issue lies for me.
I was back in the spring, I was in the camp of Jamar, Trey Hendrickson, T. Higgins. That was the order that I preferred defensively. But then I think about, well, Philly's got 2 receivers that they pay a ton of money, and I know Philly's draft has gone vastly different than Cincinnati.
Draft Jalen Carter.
But the reality is they're here. Like, the reality is it's August 19th, and they're here. And you can only so many times waste 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. And unless it gets better very quickly, we know how the story's going to end this year for Cincinnati. They're going to be awesome on offense. They're going to be 8-9 and miss the playoffs again. And then in 2026, it's going to get really noisy about, well, what do we do then? Because I know it's the preseason. I don't want to overreact. My God bless. Who's the player on the defense?
But you're not overreacting. This is carryover from the last 5 months of football.
And, like, what is the quarterback thing? I remember Joe last year stating, I feel I have to be perfect. He was darn near close, and it wasn't good enough.
And again, they're 3-4 in games in which they score 33 points. You're putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Let me pause on that thought. Coming up, we have a lot more to do, including the hope in Chicago, digging deeper into a Sunday start. The future only looks brighter for the Bears. Plus, everything old is new. Are the Browns making a huge mistake at the quarterback position?
One primal scream. 1,000 matchups for mayhem's sake. Top this anything but regular season with a 12-team playoff for even more drama. And hand over the keys to your life. Because
you have to see if what you drafted, with all of the potential, you can turn into what some people were concerned about, but you also saw that level of talent. We know what Daniel Jones is. We know what he can do. He can win you some games, have some successful outings, but the inconsistency of his play should give Anthony Richardson this opportunity to see if he can be consistent and be the guy you drafted. If Anthony Richardson doesn't work out for the Indianapolis Colts, it's a complete redo. It's a start over. They are in the same position that these franchises that will be in purgatory until they find a quarterback that could take this franchise forward.
It is also, and it must be said, a complete organizational failure if they do that. They took him at number 4, which a lot of people questioned, and then everybody on the draft that we were there that night said he needs some time. You need to let him develop. You don't want to throw him out there immediately. They throw him out there immediately. He's obviously not ready. Then the injury problems are part of it. All these different things that happen. He looked ready to play to you. When
No. I totally disagree with the organizational failure thing. Greeny, so 1, I would start Anthony. 2, Bo Nix, college and NFL, about 5,000 snaps. Yeah. Anthony Richardson, college and NFL, about 1,700.
What I'm saying.
He has to play.
Right.
He is one of those players.
Did he have to play the first week of his first season when he didn't look like he was anywhere close to ready?
Jaden Daniels got 4,000. Greeny, you have to get reps. You're not going to, whether he started the first game or the 5th game, he's chasing reps. And you knew that when you drafted him. And you knew this was going to be up and down roller coaster ride. And that's why, like, when it comes to this decision, if you start Daniel Jones, you're shutting the door on Anthony because he still doesn't have reps for development. The sack last week against Baltimore when he gets the pinky hurt, it's a developmental rep thing. Like, you want him to get it, but he needs those reps. And so no kid is ready to right away just step in. Some guys have banked thousands of reps that help them. He's playing catch up. And until you are okay with that as an organization, I'm not saying it's an easy decision. He's always going to be playing catch up.
They are okay with it as an organization, but then he gets hurt in week 4, week 5 of his rookie season. He can't play the rest of the year, so he's not getting the reps.
Right.
So that's the conundrum that they are in right now with Anthony Richardson. I went to one of his games last year. It was in Denver. I hadn't seen him play in person. It's incredible. Literally anything can happen on any play, like good or bad. The spectrum is incredible. So you know what the ceiling is, but you got to get the floor to a point where it's acceptable. And they could lose a lot of games.
RC has tape. Show us what we are actually.
And so the thing is this: when you're picking between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, this isn't like trying to choose between The Ultimatum and She's Trying to Tell Me Something. Two beautiful books written by Dan Graziano, right? You see things like this, right? He misses an easy check down, and now you have a swing route. He gets to the right throw, but it's off the mark. And then you watch him do some things that go above and beyond the X's and O's. Here he's being spied by Isaiah Simmons. It's a 3rd and 9. He makes a move. He gets the first down. And now this play got called back, but there's going to be a free rusher off of the right side of the line. He's going to fade to his left, and he's going to hit this slot fade. It's not a good throw. It's a perfect throw. It's a great throw. It's an exceptional throw. It's a throw that not many people in the world can make. And so if I'm Shane Steichen and I'm sitting there, these sorts of plays, when he does the good things, these are the things I'm trying to get more of, but you can't get more of them if he does not play.
Right.
You know what Daniel Jones is. That's not changing ever in life. When he becomes your quarterback, you have decided that you're drafting another one the next year.
Yeah.
For me, it's start Anthony Richardson. If you give up on him, if he's done, you move to Daniel Jones and you start making your plan for the future.
RC, if they choose to start Daniel Jones,
trade him.
I would trade Anthony Richardson.
Trade him.
I would entertain it, and if I was a team, I'd want to. He has to gather reps, and that's if I'm the Colts, and I think they've done a nice job with skill players Like, they got some really nice skill players.
they do.
Michael Pittman Jr., A.J.
Tyler
Mitchell.
Warren.
Tyler Warren's a freak. Josh Downs. Alec Pierce.
Brother, this team is not bad.
Right. So you just have to make the commitment of, Anthony, you get 6 weeks. Okay? Like, we're going to give you 6 weeks. And you got to prove to us that this was the right decision, and we're only going to continue to build this season. And if it doesn't get to that, you know you can turn to Daniel Jones, and you'll figure it out from
And
there.
he's not the backup type. He is not the sort of person you want as a backup. Anthony Richardson. You know who I want as a backup? Somebody who doesn't need reps to learn. You know who I want as a backup? Somebody who understands that from this sideline, I got to be taking mental reps. So if something happens to number one, I'm completely prepared to play from neck up like I've been prepared as the starter. That ain't a guy who's only played 1,700 reps.
Guys, Bo Nix, 5,000 snaps. Jaden Daniels, 4,000 snaps. Caleb, more than 3,000 snaps. Stroud, more than 3,500. So he is half of that amount so far. The reality is, if you don't choose him as your starter and he doesn't get the reps, this year, he's never going to catch that.
To your
and
point,
he's never
man.
going to develop.
That's what makes the injury so prominent in this whole entire discussion. The problem is those injuries are him not protecting himself.
Right. Totally fair.
And when you trying to figure out this conundrum that you have of, do I have a guy that's gonna see the blitz the way it needs to be seen, or am I not gonna have him for the rest of the season? Do I have a guy when he takes off understands that since you the franchise and we giving you this opportunity, are you gonna get down instead of taking the physical pounding that we've seen you take as a rookie? Not only are the reps need to be a learned behavior when it comes from throwing in the pocket and understanding coverages and being consistently accurate, there's also an understanding of how you survive
availability
as a quarterback as well. So it's not like, I don't think Indy is dealing with the simplicity of development from the quarterback standpoint. I think they also dealing with the element of consistency in making the right decisions when it comes to anything beyond throwing the football.
And that's got to be on him. Like, that's got to be on him growing of, tapping out of the game and, maybe not preparing. And that's got to be part of his development and growth,
And
no
that's
question.
And that's on him, though, right?
Totally.
Like if we are not hearing stories of veterans getting to the facility and Anthony Richardson already being there and already being in the film room, he's wrong.
Right.
If we're
Different conversation.
If we're not hearing stories of, I'm leaving the building and I see Anthony Richardson walking into the film room, I see Anthony Richardson carrying food so he can go watch the practice from the previous day, then he's wrong. And he doesn't deserve to start if he's not doing those things.
So they've got a big decision to make. Do we have any sense of when that decision will?
I think this week is when most of these decisions happen. If not, then you're sort of admitting you don't know.
All right, we'll wait and see. All right, these three guys have got to go to the NFL meetings today. I just want to say one thing very quickly. Having the three of you together, you're all still on the show at different times, but it reminds me a lot of when we started. And I will just say, if it wasn't for you three guys, I wouldn't still be here.
Thanks,
It is great to have you guys back.
Oh, look,
a pleasure to have you guys. All right, we will have much more to go as we continue, however. The Monday Night Showdown. More on that. Joe and